Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
Hello, everybody. This is Sandy, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. I am the founder and chief love officer at lastfirstdate.com, and I want to thank you for joining us at Last First Date Radio. This is an acclaimed show about achieving healthy, off-the-charts love in the second half of life. And my special guest today is going to be relationship expert Dave Elliott, and he's going to be talking about the Catch Your Match formula. This is his special formula about how to create an ideal online profile and succeed at online dating to catch your match. Really excited to have Dave on the show. And as a dating coach, my specialty is helping women date as the high-value women that they are in every other part of their lives, because I truly believe that when a person knows their true worth, they attract their most aligned, highest value partner. And I run a Facebook group. It's called Your Last First Date on Facebook, and we have about 500 members now. And the conversations that I see there every single day are from women who attract men who are not honoring them, who don't value them, and then they hang on and wait for them to value them more. So that is really an unhealthy way to be in relationship, and you deserve better. So if you are listening and you have attracted people into your life who don't cherish and value you, please come and join Your Last First Date. It's a free Facebook group where you can come for support and some common sense, down-to-earth, grounded advice to help you with your dating experience, because I want you to go on your last first date. And I also have a free gift for you if you haven't grabbed it yet. Go onto my website, lastfirstdate.com, and you can get a copy of the top 3 mistakes that midlife daters make and how you can turn them around with actionable steps to find love. We often make mistakes, we're not aware of them, and I have identified the top 3. I also want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Audible. Audible has a huge collection of audiobooks, probably the largest collection that there is, and all you have to do to get a free audiobook and a 1-month trial is to go to audibletrial.com/lastfirstdate. That's audibletrial.com/lastfirstdate. And now for our special guest, Dave Elliott. He is an author, a relationship expert, and a coach, and he works with clients all over the world. His clients get results because he specializes in rapid transformation. Whether they need a new awareness or improved skills, or they still have some healing work to do, Dave helps them to do so elegantly, effectively, and efficiently. He helps close the gap between where they currently are and where they want to be when it comes to their relationship. He's the author of the Catch Your Match formula, which is a book that I own, the developer of the H.U.G and K.I.S.S hierarchy. He's really into acronyms, and the creator of the Man M.A.G.N.E.T.I.C.S formula, again, another acronym. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
I'm happy to have you, and it was just people don't know, but we met at a Toastmasters conference recently, and Dave was one of the keynote speakers. And the first night I'm listening to him, and I don't know this guy, and he starts talking about the fact that he's a relationship coach and he trained with Tony Robbins, and I'm like, oh, cool, I do that too. I didn't train with Tony, but have a lot of respect for Tony Robbins and his work, and we just started talking and had a lot to talk about. So I said, you've got to come on my show, and here you are.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Catch Your Match formula. What is it, and why do people need it?
Well, thank you very much again for inviting me here. So basically, I wrote this book a little more than a year ago. It was released a little more than a year ago, and basically, I brought the book together because I was speaking with an old friend who I had caught up with, someone who I knew from like middle school, and she has grown up to be a really, really very sharp, successful, smart woman, and she found out what I did, and she said, "Hey, I've got an idea for my dating profile," and she said, "What do you think of this?" And I thought, oh my God, I beg you not to do that. It was a terrible idea, and it would have just been really bad. And it occurred to me after that, and then several other instances over the years of doing this. Now I've been doing this for 8 years full time since I left the corporate America job, and I realized that common sense is not common practice. And I used to be an award-winning copywriter in advertising agencies, and I would do broadcast production, and so I filmed and shot radio and TV commercials, and I have a pretty good handle on marketing and how to connect and how to present a pretty compelling story that gets people, and so I was helping them do that in the realm of a dating profile. I think the biggest mistake people make in dating profiles is they just throw a bunch of stuff against the wall to see if it'll stick, and they say, I want this and I want that and you have to be this, and it tends to be rather myopic, and it doesn't even recognize that a dating profile really is an advertisement. Advertisements have certain jobs. You need to interrupt someone in what they're doing. They have to get attention. They have to have a call to action. They have to actually do something. They have to click on your profile. Otherwise, nothing happens. They need to say, "Wow, he or she sounds great. I'd like to know more." Click, email. They have to take some kind of an action. And I was just finding that most people weren't getting the results. In fact, according to research, 80% of online daters are not getting the results that they want. 20% of the people who are paying their money every month are getting, dates or meeting people or, getting engaged or getting married, basically by the definition in the research. And that means 80% of the people are just throwing their money away every month, not getting the results they want. So I thought, wow, there's got to be a better way. Let me help show them.
Well, you said a lot of really important things there. The whole marketing background, there's such an incredible tie to marketing. And in the old days, the days where people would post ads on a personal ads, people were not afraid to call it an ad. It was an ad. It's here I am, I'm advertising myself. But somehow with online dating, we've kind of lost sight of that. And I think it started out with a lot of shame that I can't believe it's come to this. I get a lot of people who call me and say, "Oh, God, I'm so embarrassed. I have to actually go online." You probably hear the same thing, right? It's like the stigma is less than it used to be, but it's still there. And so I think a lot of people think, well, if I don't put too much attention, then I'm not too desperate. I think that's one way to look at it. But whatever you don't do well, you usually don't get results with. So I was just on the phone this morning with one of my clients. We hadn't talked in a while, and she was so frustrated with online dating. And I said, "Well, what have you done since we spoke?" "Well, my profile, my online dating contract was up, so I closed it. Then I went back on, but I haven't really emailed anyone. But, when I opened it up, nothing was really there. Nothing had changed." Well,
right.
You don't wake up one day and have a flood of emails in your inbox unless you're, some Angelina Jolie or something. Most people have to put the effort in. And so let's talk about the right kind of effort. And you talked a little bit about the biggest mistakes. So let's go first to the mistakes that people make. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the mistakes?
Sure. Well, I think I started to say that, and I think basically most people tend to be a little myopic, and it gets the profile when you read it as the person who's looking tends to be a little bit self-serving. It doesn't ever talk about here's what I bring to the table for you. It's about this is who I am. This is what you need to be. I want to do this. I like to do this. I want to travel here. I want to go there. I like this kind of food. I like this kind of music. It sort of jumps ahead, and it doesn't really do an effective job of building rapport or creating enticement or intrigue or curiosity, or the building that rapport that says, oh my gosh, this sounds like an incredible person. And as far as why we do it, like I think it's really what you were saying earlier about the people, what a terrible strategy that would be to sort of halfway try it just to say I'm doing it. The technology exists, and while I don't think it's like the be-all and end-all, I think an online profile is just really smart because it's part of a media mix. It's like, one part is get out there and meet people and find things you like to do and go out and do them and have fun and be in a great state and be, if you're a lady, be radiant. If you're a man, be, focused and really grounded and clear and rock solid. Those are all great traits to meet someone. So, and I think the other benefit of online dating too is, it's working 24/7, while you're sleeping or raising your kids or working or, traveling or something. And, good people are looking on those sites too. So I think it's just about, if you're going to take advantage of the technology or, take advantage of anything, I mean, quite frankly, you should give it, all you've got, sort of doing it halfway, just to say, I'll give it a shot, but I don't want to get too invested. I think that's just a way of, saving face, not getting your hopes up, and doing something halfway. And I don't recommend accomplishing anything by doing it halfway. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm all about giving it all, giving it your all. I think with everything in life, you get what you put in. It's interesting. I just got my mother online, and she lost her second husband a few years ago, and she said, I'm ready. I'm ready to get out there. And she wasn't meeting anyone. So I wrote her profile, and I did her photos and cropped them and uploaded. And I got onto a Zoom meeting, and so she saw a video of, I shared screen with her, and I videotaped it so that she had a copy of how to search and how to email. And she's complaining about the same things that all the clients complain about. Nobody's responding to my emails, and I don't understand. And then she's making up stuff about people like, oh, he says he's 70, but I don't believe him. Oh, well, he says he's single. I don't really think he's single. It's just like, Mom, stop making assumptions.
Right.
Talk to people, right? So I said, let's take a look at your emails. And I'd given her like a template. This is how an email works. This is an effective style of email. And her email was something like, we seem to have a lot in common. I am petite, attractive, like to travel, adventurous, a whole bunch of I am. And then she started listing stuff about her past and sad things. And it was just like, oh, Mom,
great.
Don't do this. So I really had to show her again why this doesn't work. So, the profile has to be connecting. It has to build rapport, and the emails too. So can you give an example of an effective online profile?
Well, I mean, that's a beautiful story about your mom out there doing it in her 70s, out there looking to meet people, and I think that's terrific. It's interesting, though, the point you made about, a lot of people do that. They'll throw some adjectives on a page or on a website, and the thing is, they don't ever take into account that those words mean very different things to everyone who reads them. And so what for instance, you use the word adventurous. Well, for some people, adventurous is, putting on a backpack and traveling around the world. for 4 years like my wife did before I met her. That's adventurous. But for some people, adventurous is, well, it's Thursday and I don't really have plans for the weekend yet. Like there is a huge, wide gamut of what adventurous means. So I always say, demonstrate it. Paint a picture of what that looks like. So if you're going to say, I'm adventurous, give me an example of a time or a place or something you did that you felt like was kind of adventurous. And I think that speaks more to people. And I think the beauty of that too, like for instance, if you said, I'm really adventurous. One of my greatest trips ever was going on a safari in Africa. And if someone reads that and says, oh my God, a safari, that sounds incredible. I want to hear more about that. And you automatically get linked with, the safari lady or the safari guy. And then they're like, I'd like to find out more about that. Click. Let me put a like on there or something like that. And so you're looking to get their attention or you want to know more about it. Now you have something to talk about when you do meet or if you go into, direct communication, which depending on which site you're on. It's just a great way to stand out from the crowd. And I think when you paint a picture, it just takes it to another whole level. Anybody can throw an adjective around, adventurous, playful. Some people, playful could mean a million different things. Fun-loving could mean a million different things. Go-getter, a million different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really behooves you to really just be clear about who you are and tell some really interesting stories. So it really helps you set yourself apart from your competition, assuming there is any.
Right. Well, most people think there's so much competition, but the truth is that if you really bring your unique self out, then there isn't going to be that much competition because not everyone is looking for somebody who backpacks around the world or who went on a safari. It's going to appeal to the right person, right? And so I go online all the time with my clients and I read profiles that say nothing. And it's like, how do you even start an email communication with somebody who says, I'm loyal, I'm honest, I like to work out. I mean, you and everybody else. And so, it's people are afraid sometimes to expose themselves too much in online dating. And I think that you have to expose just enough and pique interest. And before you said something about building curiosity as well as rapport. And I think that's the point. It's not telling your whole life story. It's, let me hear more about that safari.
Absolutely. It's about intrigue, and people want to be, it's got to be some entertainment. We're all busy enough. We don't need just another, social event, one more thing on the calendar. We want things that we look forward to, we're excited about, and we're like, I'm going to meet this really amazing person tonight. I can't wait to find out more about them. So, it's something to look forward to and something to get excited about. And I just think it's a really great way to kind of set the stage for the gradual unveiling, and that's the other thing that people do is they'll throw everything on the screen and tell you everything about who they are, and now there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing there, or they tell you so much you're like, I don't think I'm interested in that. Whereas sometimes a little bit goes a long way. You can create some intrigue and share a little bit about your stories, but you don't have to tell them, every sad thing that ever happened to you, like you said, or, go and, demonstrate about, put out some wounds that maybe aren't healed yet. Again, that's going to be, and a lot of people will see that and like, no thanks. Some things you don't need to say. Some things are better addressed.
That was what my mom was doing. The wounds. I didn't finish my degree. My husband died of Alzheimer's. Like, we don't need to hear that in an email. And what happens is, that wound thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's like such a big pet peeve of mine, that people connect with wounds instead of with the joyous parts of their lives and the exciting parts of their lives. And because it's such an easy thing to do, to say, oh, wow, your father was crazy, mine too. Oh, my God, my ex was just nuts. Let's talk about horrible exes. The energy
that's
in
not a
that
great
space,
start.
Oh my God, it's a terrible start. And yet so many people just feel like they just have that verbal diarrhea when they first meet. It's like, stop, take those words back. So, so let's build a little intrigue. Let's tell just enough to create some interest with the right people. And like advertising, you don't want to appeal to every single person either. You want to appeal to the people who would want that product. So there are a lot of parallels there.
Yeah,
so let's talk.
What I really do in the book is it's about branding, and it's about knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, and who is your target. Literally, quite frankly, because as you're telling your stories, you'll get. You basically, people opt in or opt out based on, are they in your sort of what I call the demographic, their lifestyle and the things they want. Someone who is interested in some of the same things you want will be intrigued by the stories of things you've done or want to do or aspire to do. And they'll be like, oh, wow, I want to know more about that. And vice versa, by the same token, people who are like, yeah, I have no interest in traveling to Europe. No, don't want to do it next. And that's fine, too, because you both save one another a lot of time. Find someone who can do those, amazing, bucket list trips, or, who feels a similar way about raising their kids, or, thinks it's important to volunteer, or someone who would never volunteer in the community. That way those people can find one another.
Yeah.
I just think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to bring out the best qualities, the most important qualities, and find a connection with people who are interested in that. So, can you share an exercise that people can do to kind of get to those key stories? What might somebody be able to do to just get started finding those little 1 or 2 line stories?
Let's see. So one of the things that I do in the book, I have you mentioned earlier, it's kind of funny that I like to work in acronyms, because I just find it's an easy way to pack a lot of information into something that can then be unpacked. So like one of the things that I think it's important to focus on is talk about, in one of my chapters called Tell Them Why You're the Best, BEST. And that's not an exercise in narcissism. In fact, far from it. It's BEST is an acronym. BEST is tell them about the benefits of dating you. Like, what are the benefits? Why should I date you? Is a fair and reasonable question that they're going to be thinking about. So if you can offer them an answer, if you've thought about it, or if someone says it to you and you're just totally, thrown aback and you have no earthly idea why they should, that's not a good sign. So in that chapter, I talk about, what are the benefits? What's the experience that we're going to share together? What kind of things do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to do this thing? Do you want to? What's important to you? Do you want to go on a, whatever it is? Do you like to go out to dinner? Do you like to go to faraway things? Are you a thrill seeker? Are you an adrenaline junkie or something like that? Or are you very, health oriented? Those are things that, people sort of opt in and catch the vision and say, oh yeah, that sounds like someone who I can get along with really well. So, and then you could talk about the S in the BEST acronym is about the sizzle. What's the excitement? What's the really cool thing? What's your life going to be about? And lastly, the T is about the traits. What traits do you bring to the table? And again, this is where we can talk about those adjectives. The adjectives that you bring to the table, and but if you bring a story with them, now you can sort of unpack those. Like, for instance, if you say, honesty is a bedrock value, tell a little story about why, or say something about why, honesty is really important to you. You could say, one of the things that I've learned in my life, I used to say it to my daughter. In fact, I'm the kind of person who would rather hear, the ugliest truth than the prettiest lie. So, that's another thing that I talk about in the book. One of the ways to sort of hone in on who you want and kind of move away from the people that you don't want is to put in there what I call a velvet rope. A velvet rope, if you think about it, like if you go to the movie theater or an amusement park, it's kind of creates a line, or it creates a crowd, or it organizes a crowd, or pushes one back. A velvet rope the way I define it is to say, here's one thing that's kind of a deal breaker for me. If you're not really interested in committing to just an exclusive relationship, that's kind of a deal breaker for me, and that's not going to work for me right now. And most people would say, oh my gosh, I shouldn't put that in there. And I say, absolutely, yes, you should. You still want it like 95% positive, moving toward, here's what I want, here's what I want, here's what I want. But then at the end, close off with like, hey, here's one thing that I'm really clear that I don't want. And I think the reason you do that is because, one, again, it sort of gets some people who are not in the place that you want to be in to opt out, which is great because now you're not wasting one another's time. It gets you to come from abundance, not scarcity. You're not afraid of losing people. You're just maximizing your time and theirs. And, I just think it's smart. And it also says, I know my value, and I'm not afraid to ask for what I want.
I so agree with you on this. People are so afraid to put out there what it is that they're looking for. And so this is what leads to a lot of people being disappointed 6 months down the road when they find out that the other person was not on the same page in terms of what they were looking for, even when it comes to long distance, because that can come up in online dating a lot. And if you're willing to travel to meet somebody, that's fine. But what's the long-term plan? And if you don't discuss it up front, then one person may think, well, eventually that person's going to want to relocate because I can't relocate, and the other person's thinking the same thing. And after 4 months of this, they both realize that neither one can relocate, and boom, hearts broken, disappointment. But you didn't have to have that, right? You could have discussed all that up front and avoided all the pain.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. But my wife is from Australia, so when you talk about long distance dating, that's long distance. And there was some obviously discussion about that earlier on, and what's life going to look like. And again, that's when you talk about show my are the best, what's the experience? I got to know really early on that when I met her, she was doing a 4-year eat, pray, love journey around the world. And so it's clear to me that variety is a driving value for her. She, loves to travel and experience cultures and different cuisines, and, she loves that travel. And if I wasn't, okay with that, if I didn't appeal to me at some level, even though that hadn't necessarily been my experience, by having that conversation, we were able to sort of, on board at the same time. And, now there's a bunch of places she's been to, probably 50 or 60 more countries than I've been to, but now she gets to experience them again with me. And, I've like, before I met her, I'd been to probably, 3 countries. And then since I've been with her now, I've been to about a dozen. So that's
awesome.
The huge change. Yeah. I mean, plus we lived in Australia for almost 2 years. So, I'm seeing a lot more of the world, getting a lot more frequent flyer miles. And it's pretty incredible. We love it.
So you both love it, which is what makes it work. Because for other people, they'd say, can't work for me. So people have asked me that on a first phone call. Are you willing to relocate? And I have no problem with that question. I really appreciate when somebody's upfront with me. I recently had a talk with a guy who lives several hours away, and he told me what his financial situation is in terms of getting a hotel in New York, which is expensive. And he said he would come up and see me, but he can't afford a $300 a night hotel, so he has to stay with his daughter. Okay, thanks for letting me know. But he's willing to make the effort. He's willing to take me out. He's just saying, I'm not a $300 a night kind of guy, but I am a generous guy, and and I will take you out in style, and I will come to you, which also tells me a lot about a person. So,
really
it's about paying attention, right? And so we are coming to a close, and so will you just give us some parting words about online dating success, if you can sort of capsulize the essence of why people should get online, and how to have success. If you could just give us a little snippet of that.
Yeah, wow, this time flew by. So
I know.
it was great to be here. I really think, like I said earlier, the key is, it's not the be all end all, but it's just another accent, or it's a way to make your time work even more effectively for you and expand so that you could do what you're doing. This online dating works while you're working, or while you're raising your kids, or while you're traveling, or while you're sleeping, for that matter. So I just think it's effective, and there's nothing to lose. Some people don't want to do it, but that's fine. The beauty of my book, it's really great to be able to, even if you're sitting with someone having a coffee date, if you can tell them who you are and what you're about, and you've got this really compelling story about who you are, that's going to serve you very, very well sitting there getting to know someone too, because it's all about how do you effectively tell a story, develop rapport, and, like I said, intrigue and curiosity, and make it so that people can draw out the best of you. So, I think that's the beauty of the book. It works in a profile on a website, but it also works in person, when you're sitting across the table from someone. So most people don't do the work to really know their value and get clear and say, wow, I really had no idea I had so much to offer. I think so many people, I'm sure you meet them too, or, reasons they struggle with dating is they don't really know what they bring to the table. And I think that's one of the beauties that we as coaches, that's one of the gifts that we bring for them. We help them get a ton of clarity. And confidence is the one trait, the one thing that women and men agree is, that's an amazing trait. We all love confidence. And confidence comes from knowing your value and knowing what you bring to the table, I think.
I agree. I think that's great advice. I think that the more prepared you are for anything in life, the better you do. The more clarity you have, the more focus you have. And so if you compile a great online profile, you're also creating the little nuggets about yourself, the little stories about yourself that you can bring to dating and to any other relationship that you have. So this is really fabulous advice. Dave, thank you for coming on the show today, and I hope people go out and buy the Catch Your Match formula. Tell everybody how they can find you and find your book.
Well, you can catch me. I'm having a brand new website done. It will be going up any day now. It's really, really close to finish. I'm excited about that. I'm at legendaryloveforlife.com. My book is available on my website, or also at Amazon.com. You can buy it paperback, or in the Kindle version. You can get that immediately on Amazon. And then I also have a site, catchyourmatchbook.com, so they can find me on there as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck selling that book and helping more people find love. And thanks, everybody, for joining me today and joining me and Dave Elliott today. And I hope you all go on your last first date very soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.